Hello, this is JOMAJ Studios, and this is our original fantasy action adventure, The Fall of Nale. Episode 2. It took 2 hours for Jacob and Lilith to get back to the kingdom of Nale, by which time they had already feared the worst for Nathaniel. Jacob, now covered in the knight's blood, carried Nathaniel to Elzador's workroom in the royal castle and laid the injured young man on the wizard's work table. I think he's dead, said Jacob hesitantly, as he was reluctant to upset Lilith with the prospect of Nathaniel's demise. She in turn hugged Jacob to give and receive moral support. He isn't dead. He has, however, lost a lot of blood, said Elzador, examining the injured young man. Leave us, ordered Elzador as he got ready to treat the fallen warrior. Jacob and the princess did as they were told. As Jacob stepped outside the workroom, Lilith dragged him into a dark corner and kissed him passionately. Thank you for saving us, said the princess as she gazed into her lover's eyes, while her hand still caressed his face. Promise me you won't tell your father of my actions, asked Jacob, for he knew if the king knew of his heroics, he would be forced to take part in a life he wanted nothing to do with. I promise, said the princess, understanding her lover's request. I wanted to ask you one last thing, said Jacob, then getting down on one knee. Will you marry me? Yes, my dear Jacob, I will, answered the princess, filled with more happiness than she could handle. I will come for you tonight, so that we may go and start a life together on a land outside the kingdom left to me by my father, where we will never be found, promised the young jester. I will leave my window open and wait for you, informed the princess, then kissing her lover again, before finally making her way to her father's house. Hours later, the king, allowing the presence of his family, called a meeting for all Nale's finest warriors. Champions of Nale, I have called you all because your kingdom will soon be attacked by a very powerful evil. Because of this, I need you all to go to the dark regions of this land and vanquish this threat, announced the king, emanating a great deal of urgency. Sire, that won't be wise. I fear this evil that has been released onto the world is an evil we don't have the power to face head-on. It needs to be vanquished at the source with a great deal of precision. If we attempt to do this with 100 men, Aiden will spot and destroy them before they get a mile away from his region. This quest is for one man, pointed out Elzador. And that man is me, cried out Nathaniel, marching into the hall in his full armor, with his strength and confidence fully restored. Nathaniel, Nale's finest knight, and a man who did not hesitate to follow my daughter into the jaws of evil. Yes, young knight, you may have this quest, granted the king in great faith. Thank you, sire. Later that day, Jacob sat on a rock in the middle of Nale's countryside, playing on his flute, a melody his mother used to sing to him as a child. Alas, that tune brings back a lot of memories, said Elzador as he approached the jester from behind and took a seat beside him. Good day, Elzador. Good day, young Jacob. What you did was a very brave thing. Not only did you save Nathaniel's life, but you stopped Aiden from summoning Sorax with its full strength. There are countless young men that would have done the same if given the opportunity. But not all would have succeeded, stated Elzador, then rising to his feet to stand in front of the young man. Aiden got a great deal of Nathaniel's blood, enough to summon the Hell Knight Sorax. It will take days for Sorax to awaken and even more days for the demon to gain its full strength. The Hell Knight must be destroyed before this can happen, or we all will be doomed, informed Elzador with a great deal of seriousness. You are a man with vast knowledge and skill. Surely you can destroy Aiden and Sorax before they do any harm, pointed out Jacob, sensing the favor that was soon to be asked of him. Aiden has come back from his demise stronger and smarter than before. I sense it is better I stay and protect the royal family, which is why I allowed the king to send Nathaniel out on the quest to vanquish Sorax's evil. Then we have nothing to fear. Sir Nathaniel is more than capable of carrying out such a task, said Jacob with a great deal of relief, assuming there was no possible way he could be asked to be involved in the Aiden saga. No, he isn't. He, like many young warriors, is simply out to prove his worth as a man. Because of this, he will make many foolish decisions and die, which is why I want you to accompany him. I can't. Me rescuing the princess and the knight was nothing more than a fluke. I do not have the heart to walk the path of a warrior, insisted Jacob. A true warrior acts not because of what his reward may be, or because of how people may perceive him after his act. A true warrior acts only on what his heart represents and will fight only for what he believes in, nothing more. Jacob, that is the kind of warrior you are, and that is the kind of warrior Nale needs right now, argued Elzador, noticing Jacob was still not convinced. I can tell you love Princess Lilith very much. You know of that? Whispered Jacob, now a bit uneasy. The wizard knew of his secret love affair. Yes, I know. I also know you two belong together. But that will not come to pass if you do not take it upon yourself to rid this world of Sorax's evil. After Elzador left him with those words, Jacob went back to his home and removed from under his bed a large wooden chest. In it was an aspect of his life he had gone out of his way to forget for the last 3 years. The chest contained a jet black Robin Hood-like outfit, which was the last thing he wore as a knight in training. The chest also contained the only 2 weapons he gave his father a chance to hand down to him: a long metal combat staff and an enchanted silver boomerang that could cut through any material known to man. Jacob wore his old uniform, took hold of his old weapons, and used the rest of the day to practice all the fighting styles taught to him by both his parents. Later that evening, the princess waited patiently, packed and ready to leave her father's house, to start a new life with the first and only man she would ever love. Her heart raced with excitement as she heard the sound made by someone climbing up her balcony. But to her disappointment, it wasn't her lover Jacob. "Evening, fair princess," said Nathaniel, dressed in light battle armor, assuming the princess would be happy to see him. "Oh, it's you," said Lilith, in a tone that clearly gave away her disappointment. "Hey, don't be like that. Before I set out on my latest quest, I hope to entertain you a little," said Nathaniel. He then brought out 6 blue balls and clumsily attempted to juggle them. But his attempt to mimic Jacob's performance at the banquet was more than terrible. It was ridiculous. He, however, did succeed in entertaining the young princess, for she couldn't at all hold in her amusement at the usual proud knight making a complete fool of himself. "Make sure you come back in one piece," said the princess, touched by Nathaniel's effort. She then kissed the young warrior softly on the cheek. "Why, princess, I didn't know you cared," said the knight, a bit shocked by the princess's actions. "You may be an arrogant pest, but I do still care about what happens to you," said Lilith, then playfully messing up his hair with her hand. "Don't worry, my fair lady. I will be back to win your heart," promised Nathaniel, as he left her room through the same way he made his entrance. The princess watched him leave with a smile on her face. Nathaniel that night was sweet, but Lilith still longed for her true love, Jacob. 5 years had passed since she met him, and yet in all that time he had managed to keep the same level of kindness and sincerity in his heart and eyes. Lilith began to reminisce about how it all started. That day, as a 14-year-old princess, already expected to know and do so much, she had been invited by 16-year-old Nathaniel to watch him as he trained for a chance at knighthood in the heart of Nale's countryside. After about 45 minutes of watching Nathaniel flex his muscles and perform some combat theories, Lilith got bored and sneaked away from her egotistical friend. She wandered deep into the countryside until she came to a little house by a lake. Unknown to her at the time, it was the home of Sir Hymer, the mightiest warrior ever to serve the throne of Nale. In front of the house was 15-year-old Jacob practicing Tai Chi. "Hello there," greeted the princess, a bit puzzled by what Jacob was doing. "Are you lost?" asked Jacob, continuing with the form. "No, not really. What are you doing?" "Tai Chi, the perfect means of becoming one with your center," responded Jacob, yet to make eye contact. "Would you teach me?" asked Lilith, who was genuinely curious about what Jacob was doing. "Sure," answered Jacob, finally stopping to look at his first student, only to be mesmerized by her beauty. For the rest of the year, every late afternoon, Princess Lilith sneaked off to learn Tai Chi from Jacob. She learned that apart from it being a therapy exercise, it was a unique fighting style that mainly focused on using an attacker's foes to one's own advantage. In that time with Jacob, she watched him perform numerous other kung fu styles with a vast range of weapons, most of which she had never seen before. "Who taught you all this?" asked the princess one afternoon, after Jacob amazed her with his drunken sword form. "Most of the empty hand stuff were taught to me by my mother. My dad learnt all the weaponry from her father and passed all his knowledge down to me," answered Jacob as he sat down beside her to take a drink of water. "I would like to meet your parents. They sound like interesting people." "My mother left when I was 12 to go back to her home, far in the east, to help resolve some problems. My father, however, serves the royal court as a knight," informed Jacob. "Tell me, Jacob, do you wish to follow in your father's footsteps and become a knight for the royal throne?" inquired Princess Lilith. "Yes, he does. And who knows, little princess, one day he might win your heart," answered Sir Haima before his son was able to utter a word. Jacob quickly got to his feet to show his father respect. Lilith did the same. "Sir Haima, I had no idea," responded Lilith, a bit stunned. "It's okay. My home is open to you anytime," assured Sir Haima, then making his way into his house. Jacob attempted following, with the intent to prepare his father some food. "It's okay. Entertain your new friend," insisted Jacob's father. "Princess, why didn't you tell me?" asked Jacob in his usual soft tone. "It kind of slipped my mind. Please don't be angry with me," playfully pleaded the princess. "I'm not. Come, I want to show you something," said Jacob, then taking Princess Lilith by the hand and leading her to a beautiful open field 10 minutes away from his home. He then sat her down and began to perform all sorts of amazing tricks with 6 blue balls. After watching a 15-minute performance by Jacob, the princess applauded him, for she was fully entertained. "I have a secret that you must promise to keep," said Jacob, now becoming very serious as he took a seat beside the princess. "Your secret is safe with me," responded Lilith in a tone that made a futile attempt to maintain the lightened mood created by Jacob's performance. "I do not wish to be a knight like my father," revealed Jacob. Noticing the sudden gasp that took hold of Lilith, he got up to his feet and turned his back to her. "Now that you know this, do you think any less of me?" asked Jacob, already preparing himself to lose a friend. "No, of course not. I just think you'd make a great knight," said Lilith as she rose to her feet and gently placed a hand on Jacob's shoulder. "Maybe, but I'd rather make people happy than dedicate my life to the battlefield," pointed out Jacob passionately. Sir Haima was right. Jacob did win over the prince's heart, but he didn't do so by slaying dragons or conquering armies. He did so by sharing his passion for making people smile. As time went on, they both became fond of each other, beyond the realm of plain friendship. While Nathaniel tried to impress the princess by proving his worth as a warrior, Jacob successfully wooed her with flowers and poetry. 2 years later, Jacob, in an effort to fill his lover's heart with happiness, ventured into the dark regions outside the Nale kingdom to get the rarest and most beautiful flower. Unknown to him, removing the flower from its root was the key to unlocking the evil sorcerer Aiden from a prison created by Elzador. When Jacob took the flower, Aiden, as an old and insane-looking man, emerged from the earth naked. Aiden's eyes glowed with joy and evil as he had the intention to murder young Jacob, but his weakened state did not allow him to act on his desire. Jacob never forgot the eyes of the evil sorcerer, and yet kept the whole incident to himself, until the day he found out that that very same sorcerer took the life of his father while attempting to take over the Nale kingdom. Jacob never forgave himself. The only thing that kept his sanity intact was Princess Lilith's love. The princess's dreamlike state was broken as she again heard someone climb up her bedroom window. Lilith then ran and hugged Jacob as he climbed through her window dressed in his own personal battle gear. "My love, I am so sorry, but we can't leave this night," informed Jacob gently. "We can't?" responded the princess, disappointed for the second time that evening. "Lilith, my love, if anything happens to me, promise me you will not stop yourself from finding love elsewhere," asked Jacob, hoping for the best but preparing for the worst. Lilith, after staring her lover in the eyes, gave him a passionate kiss. "Now you promise me 2 things. The first thing is that you take care of Nathaniel, and the second thing is that you come back alive," said Princess, unable to give in to her lover's request. Jacob, now very sure he had found the only woman he would love, looked Lilith in the eyes and said, "I promise." That is the end of episode 2, but before we go, answer this episode's question. If Lilith is a Christian, is it right she allows Nathaniel to pursue her without informing him that she has a fiancé? Refer to the Bible and give your answers via any JOMAJ Studios social media platform links, which can be found at jomajstudios.com. Like Water, The Next Age is now available on paperback and in ebook format via any Kindle device. Also, check out the JOMAJ Studio website, Twitter page, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube channel for the complete Like Water series and all other JOMAJ Studio features.